Hello everyone, welcome to Sports Here. On this video, I'm going to predict the 2019 NHL standings. So let's get this video started, and please don't forget to subscribe. This season, there are many teams with a great chance of making the playoffs in the NHL. But which teams have the best chance to make it? Watch until the end to find out. The Eastern Conference, Atlantic Division. The Ottawa Senators, 65 points. The Ottawa Senators will be the worst team in the Atlantic Division and the worst team in the Eastern Conference. They have not made the playoffs since the 2016-2017 season. Last year they had 64 points on the season. So I do see them improving just a little bit this season with 65 points. The Detroit Red Wings, 75 points. The Detroit Red Wings have not made the playoffs since the 2016-2017 season. The last time they did make the playoffs was in the 2015-2016 season and losing in the Atlantic Division semifinals against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Last year they finished with 74 points. I see this as another rebuilding year for the Detroit Red Wings with 75 points in the new season. The Buffalo Sabres, 83 points. The Buffalo Sabres haven't made the playoffs since the 2010-2011 season. They have finished in 8th place in 4 of the last 6 seasons. Last year they finished in 6th place with 76 points on that season, and that's the best place finish since 2012-2013 season when they finished in 5th place. I predict that the Buffalo Sabres will be an improved team this season and will be a more competitive team overall. The Montreal Canadiens, 96 points. The Montreal Canadiens had a good season last year but didn't make the postseason. They haven't been to the postseason since the 2016-2017 season. The last time they were in the postseason, they lost to the New York Rangers in the first round. I predict that the Montreal Canadiens will have the same amount of points this season as it did last year, with 96 points on the new season. I certainly think they will be a better team overall. The Florida Panthers, 98 points. The Florida Panthers had an okay season last year with a total of 86 points. They haven't made the playoffs since the 2015-2016 season when they lost in the first round against the New York Islanders. I absolutely think the Florida Panthers will be an improved team this season with 98 points and will have a great chance of making the playoffs this season. The Boston Bruins, 100 points. The Boston Bruins had a great season last year by going to the Stanley Cup Finals, but unfortunately they lost that game against the St. Louis Blues in the 7-game series. They have also made the playoffs for the last 3 seasons in a row, and the last time they missed the postseason was back in the 2015-2016 season. I honestly think the Boston Bruins will have another great season this year. The Toronto Maple Leafs, 103 points. The Toronto Maple Leafs had a great season last year, but unfortunately their season ended early in the playoffs against the Boston Bruins in the first round. They have made the postseason for the last 3 seasons in a row, and the last time they did miss the playoffs was back in the 2015-2016 season. I suspect the Toronto Maple Leafs will have another great season with 103 points in the new season. It could possibly make a deep playoff run. The Tampa Bay Lightning, 131 points. The Tampa Bay Lightning have made the playoffs for the last 2 seasons in a row. They did have a fabulous season last year, but unfortunately they were eliminated by the Columbus Blue Jackets in a 7-game series. By all means, I think the Tampa Bay Lightning will be one of the best teams this season with 131 points. The Eastern Conference, the Metropolitan Division, the Columbus Blue Jackets, 76 points. The Columbus Blue Jackets have made the playoffs for the last 3 seasons in a row for the first time in franchise history. They have also won their first playoff series in franchise history against the Tampa Bay Lightning, but unfortunately they lost in the next round against the Boston Bruins. I think the Columbus Blue Jackets won't be that good this season with 76 points in the new season. The New York Rangers, 81 points. The New York Rangers didn't have a good season at all last year, as for the first time since the early 2000s, they have missed the postseason in back-to-back seasons. I certainly think the New York Rangers will be an improved team this season, finishing with 81 points, compared to last season when they only got 78 points. The Philadelphia Flyers, 85 points. The Philadelphia Flyers have made the playoffs on every odd year since 2013, but when it's an even year, they haven't made the playoffs at all, and that all started back in the 2012-2013 season. I suspect the Philadelphia Flyers will have a better season this year with 85 points. The New Jersey Devils, 92 points. The New Jersey Devils had a disappointing season last year by finishing 8th place with 72 points. The reason why last season was such a disappointment was because they were a playoff contender for the 2018-2019 season, but weren't even close on making the playoffs. I absolutely think the New Jersey Devils will have a bounce-back year with 92 points in the new season. The New York Islanders, 93 points. The New York Islanders had a fantastic season last year by going to the playoffs for the first time since the 2015-2016 season. Last year was also the most points at 103 in a season since the 83-84 season when they got 104 points in that year. I suspect the New York Islanders will have a great chance for a wildcard spot this season with 93 points. The Pittsburgh Penguins, 98 points. The Pittsburgh Penguins had a pretty great season last year by going to the playoffs, but unfortunately they lost to the New York Islanders in the first round. They have made the playoffs for 13 straight seasons in a row and winning 3 Stanley Cup titles in that period. That's pretty remarkable to do that. By all means, I think the Pittsburgh Penguins will make the postseason again for the 14th time in a row with 98 points in the season. The Washington Capitals, 102 points. The Washington Capitals had a great season last year until the first round of the playoffs when they were eliminated by the Carolina Hurricanes in a 7-game series. They have won the Metropolitan Division for the last 4 seasons in a row and winning their first Stanley Cup title in franchise history. My prediction for the Washington Capitals are that they will have another great chance ahead and could win their division for the 5th time in a row this season. The Carolina Hurricanes, 104 points. The Carolina Hurricanes had a fantastic season last year by making the playoffs for the first time since the 2008-2009 season. They were so close to the Stanley Cup Finals last season, but unfortunately they lost in the conference finals against the Boston Bruins. I predict that the Carolina Hurricanes will win their division with 104 points for the first time since 2005-2006 season. The Western Conference, Central Division. The Minnesota Wild, 78 points. The Minnesota Wild didn't have a good season at all last year with 83 points. Last season was the first time that they have missed the playoffs since the 2011-2012 season. By all means, I think the Minnesota Wild won't be that good this season with 78 points on the new season. The Chicago Blackhawks, 91 points. The Chicago Blackhawks had a decent season last year with 84 points. They haven't made the playoffs since the 2016-2017 season, and that was the first time that has happened since 2005-2007. I think the Chicago Blackhawks will be a better team overall this season with 91 points, but I don't see them making the playoffs this year. The Winnipeg Jets, 95 points. The Winnipeg Jets had a good season last year with 99 points. For the first time in franchise history, they have made the postseason in back-to-back seasons. By all means, I think the Winnipeg Jets will have a good season this year with 95 points. The Dallas Stars, 98 points. The Dallas Stars had a pretty good season last year by making the playoffs for the first time since the 2015-2016 season. They won their first round of the playoffs against the Nashville Predators, but unfortunately they lost the second round of the playoffs against the St. Louis Blues. I predict that the Dallas Stars will be a better team this season with 98 points. The Nashville Predators, 100 points. The Nashville Predators have made the playoffs in 5 straight seasons in a row, and that's the most postseason appearances in a row in franchise history. I absolutely think the Nashville Predators will be a playoff team this season with 100 points. The St. Louis Blues, 102 points. The St. Louis Blues won their first ever Stanley Cup title in franchise history against the Boston Bruins. I absolutely think the St. Louis Blues will be an even more improved team this season with 102 points. The Colorado Avalanche, 105 points. The Colorado Avalanche have made the playoffs in back-to-back seasons for the first time since 2003-2005. I certainly think that the Colorado Avalanche will be one of the best teams in the Western Conference with 105 points. The Western Conference, Pacific Division. The Los Angeles Kings, 64 points. The Los Angeles Kings did not have a season to remember last year with 71 points. I suspect the Los Angeles Kings will be one of the worst teams in the NHL this season with 64 points. The Edmonton Oilers, 80 points. The Edmonton Oilers have missed the postseason in back-to-back seasons, and the last time they made the postseason was in the 2016-2017 season. I positively think the Edmonton Oilers will be more a competitive team this season with 80 points. The Anaheim Ducks, 83 points. The Anaheim Ducks were a decent team last year. Last year, they missed the postseason for the first time since the 2011-2012 season, and that ended a streak of 6 postseason appearances in a row. By all means, I think the Anaheim Ducks will be a little bit better this season with 83 points. The Vancouver Canucks, 87 points. The Vancouver Canucks haven't made the postseason for the last 4 seasons in a row, and the last time they did make the playoffs was back in the 2014-2015 season. I suspect the Vancouver Canucks will be a more competitive team this season with 87 points. The Arizona Coyotes, 96 points. The Arizona Coyotes have missed the playoffs for the last 7 seasons in a row, and the last time they made the postseason was back in the 2011-2012 season. Last season, they were a pretty competitive team overall. I absolutely think the Arizona Coyotes will break their playoff drought this season with 96 points. The Calgary Flames, 101 points. The Calgary Flames had a fabulous season last year by going to the playoffs with 107 points. But unfortunately, were eliminated in the first round of the playoffs by the Avalanche. I think the Calgary Flames will have a great season this year with 101 points. The San Jose Sharks, 104 points. The San Jose Sharks have made the playoffs for the last 3 seasons in a row. They did have a great season last year by going to the conference finals, but unfortunately losing to the St. Louis Blues in a 7-game series. I think the San Jose Sharks will have a better season this year with 104 points. The Vegas Golden Knights, 106 points. The Vegas Golden Knights have made the postseason in every year that the organization has existed. Last year's season was a disappointment because they didn't make the Stanley Cup Finals after losing the Stanley Cup Finals in the season before. I absolutely think that the Vegas Golden Knights will be one of the best teams in the Western Conference with 106 points. What are your guys' predictions for the 2019-20 NHL season? Join me in the comment section below and tell me what you guys think. I'm Nathan, and thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to just keep loving sports, and I'll see you next time.